been a busy couple of weeks for Congresswoman Annie Kuster. There was a sit-in on Capitol Hill when it came to gun control. She's authored a new bill to combat the crisis of addiction here in New Hampshire, and she revealed publicly for the first time a very personal part of her past, acknowledging that she has been a victim of sexual assault. And Congresswoman Kuster is our first guest this morning. Good to see you, ma'am.
Good morning, Josh. It's always great to see you.
Yeah,
sorry about my voice.
No worries at all. Let's start with the gun control and the bills
Sure.
that in the sit-in. You're going back into session on the 5th. Are you going to start this sit-in once again? I mean, what was accomplished with that?
You know, to tell you the truth, I don't think we're going to need the sit-in. I think what you're going to find is that we brought forward the issue that the American people are talking about. How do we keep America safe? And we had a great discussion, long debate. I lost my voice in the 24 hours that we were talking. But what we're finding is that all over the country and here in New Hampshire, people are speaking up. 90% of Americans support having background checks and making sure that we keep people who are on our terrorist watch lists from getting access to guns. Now, look, I'm a big supporter of the Second Amendment. Lots of my constituents all across the state, hunting is a big piece of this, but also protection, keeping your family safe. And I want to make sure we have both. You know, the challenge on the assault weapon issue is the definition. You get into the weeds. What needs to happen is we need to make sure that the terrorist, somebody that has taken an oath of allegiance to ISIS, does not have access to that weapon. So it's a very bipartisan issue. I think you've seen Senator Shaheen, Senator Ayotte come forward. I'm actually very excited about going back to Washington next week. You've got Susan Collins with an amendment in the Senate. You've got a bipartisan group coming together in the House, and I'll be a part of that. And let's get this issue out there for a vote. You know, Speaker Ryan, when he came in, he promised what we call regular order. What that means is that when we have a big issue that 90% of the American people believe in, we get a chance to debate it and we get a chance to vote on it. And that's really what the sit-in was all about. They've refused to schedule a hearing. They've refused to give us a vote. The American people deserve better. You know, do your job. That's the hashtag, do your job.
Well, what leads you to believe that there is do that again? What do you think that this movement's going to be?
Because the outpouring, I mean, we've had thousands of letters and phone calls, constituents all across the country. Events are continuing to happen all across the country. Right here in Nashua, there's a group, Moms Demand Action. They're very active, and you can see it with Senator Ayotte. You can see that she understands the statements that she's making, very different than what she said in the past. But she understands if terrorists devoted to ISIS get their hands on these weapons and massacre people. You know, if we're not safe in going to the movie theater, going to the shopping center, going to church, I mean, that was the one that really, you know, these people were in Bible study. We need to be safe in our communities, and whether you're black or straight or gay, it doesn't matter. You should be able to go out with friends to a nightclub and not risk mass murder. That's what we're talking about, and it's time for Congress to take a stand.
Senator Ayotte's bill with Senator Collins, this is something you support?
I want to, you know, the devil's in the details. I want to read the version that comes out. There's a thing where whether you're on the list, and I want to make sure that if you're on that terrorist watch list, you can't purchase the gun. Then if there's a question about whether you're on the list, yes, of course you should have due process, but let that happen after the sale has been stopped. I think there's been a debate. Some people say let the sale go forward and then we can pull it back. That puts the community at risk, in my view. I want to make sure we keep the community safe, and for legitimate law-abiding gun owners, absolutely. Protect your family, enjoy your sports and your fishing and your hunting. You know, some people in my district are feeding their family that way. So I'm going to defend their right to have their gun for law-abiding citizens.
Sure, and let's talk about the definition of assault weapon. AR-15 is what a lot of people point to, but I think perhaps a lot of voters hear the word assault weapon and they think machine gun. These aren't machine guns that are out there. They're just military style.
This is what I'm saying about the debate about the definitions. You know, there was a time when the assault weapons were prohibited, but look, the gun manufacturers, they can change the stock, they can change the barrel, they can change. One of the issues that came up that does interest me, and I wasn't aware of this, duck hunters are limited to 3 bullets. ballots. And the reason is to protect the ducks. So, you know, maybe there's something more that could be done to protect children, but right now what I'm focused on is the terror watch list and the background checks. 90% of the American people, Josh, agree with that.
Yeah.
And, you know, here's the thing about the background checks. I think most people assume we have that now, but in the past several years, 40% of purchases are now on the internet, and we don't have background checks on the internet and at the gun shows. So again, protect the rights of law-abiding gun owners. I've talked with hunters, I've talked with, you know, individuals that want to protect their family. Absolutely. You keep that gun, keep it locked, keep it safe, keep it away from children, you know, make sure that your family is safe. But let's make sure that somebody with a background of evil intent, pledging their allegiance to ISIS, are not walking into our movie theater the next time you send your teenagers off to the movies.
And how is it? This must have, you know, been something. I know it drives a lot of people crazy publicly to think that the FBI interviewed this Orlando shooter a couple of different times
how he slipped
on a
away.
list, and then still manages to get a weapon.
You know, this is the balance. I have to say, we've got a constitution. We balance individual liberties, but we've got to protect our community. And I think the FBI is going to take a long, hard look. Once you have checked somebody out, you've determined that they're not an immediate threat, let's keep a secondary list and cycle back every 6 months just to check in. How's that person doing? I mean, one of the issues I'm working on, Josh, is about mental health. And I think you know about our work with John Broderick, former Justice John Broderick. We had a big event at the State House about the 5 signs of mental health. We want to educate the public. But if you know that someone is dealing with mental health issues, let's get them help. Let's get them the treatment and the therapies that they need. And I think you look at a lot of these mass murders, you know, go back Columbine, Newtown, families that didn't know how to cope with a young person with mental health issues. That's a situation where probably not the best gift to give that person a gun. Probably better to help them deal with the issues of whatever psychoses they may be dealing with. You know, we have good therapy for that now. We have good medication for that now. People can get help. We've dealt with this in our family. You know, Congressman Ginta has dealt with this in his family, and together we're trying to bring forward this issue of mental health and make sure people get the support that they need. That's a bipartisan approach.
Time's flying now. A couple of things I want to get to.
Sure.
You surprised a lot of people this week by, you know, last week I think it was.
Yes.
You revealed a very personal side of yourself. Something you said that you hadn't even told your husband or family yet, and that's you're a victim of sexual assault.
I had not, Josh. I mean, these are incidents that happened to me 40 years ago. One was an incident on a college campus at a fraternity. I was really motivated by the statement of the woman out in Stanford University that was attacked and brutally assaulted. And what struck me, the judge had a sentence in that case of 6 months. You know, that guy will probably serve 90 days. And here he was assaulting a woman out behind a dumpster. She was unconscious. And it made me realize that by keeping silent for 40 years, we've perpetuated an environment where it's very difficult to come forward. The other incident happened to me when I was working in Congress. It was more like a sexual harassment. We didn't have a word for that back then. And then the third incident actually was that I was mugged on Capitol Hill right around that same time. I hadn't told my husband, I hadn't told our sons, but when we had the conversation and when I made the statement, I shared my testimony on the House floor because I think it's important. The statement I made was, we are all Emily Doe. That was the name in court that the women went by. And Josh, I've got to tell you, I've been amazed by the response that I've had, the stories that are coming forward. Young people, older people. Amanda Grady at the Coalition for Domestic and Sexual Violence told me 23% of all women in New Hampshire have been sexually assaulted. 70% have not come forward and told their story. And I thought back then, that times would change, that this was something that we were going through because, you know, the first women to go to an all-male college, the first women to work on Capitol Hill, that kind of thing. But come on, 40 years later, we need to have this conversation in a public way. So it's not about me, it's about, my story is not unique or remarkable. Sadly, it's just all too common.
Yeah, a lot of people, though, admiring the fact that you talked about this publicly. We're almost out of time, but I want to talk about Carl's Law. This is a bill that,
Yes.
that you're authoring right now. Basically, to put a warning label, seems like how...
Is that so basic? A warning label on medicine. This is an incredible story. A family I've met from Holderness, New Hampshire. The mother's name is Sue Messenger. She came to Washington to testify before our task force to combat the heroin epidemic. Her young son, Carl, was in treatment. He was in recovery from heroin, and he got a common cold. He had a chest cold, went and got medicine from the doctor, was not aware that that medicine was cough syrup with codeine. Codeine's a narcotic, and it creates drug-seeking behavior.
Triggered a relapse.
Triggered a relapse, and the very next day he was in touch with his dealer and took 100% fentanyl. Obviously didn't realize that, died instantly. She found him in the bathroom with the plunger. You know, tragic loss. And I want to make sure that, again, we're having this conversation. How do we protect our families and our young people? And let's make sure everybody knows the signs, how to get help, how to get access to treatment, and to understand the recovery takes a long time, and to educate us all. Who knew that this would trigger drug-seeking behavior?
Yeah, we have 30 seconds, but just basically this law would put a warning on prescribed narcotics saying this will... how do you want the language to read? This will...
We're going to call it Carl's Law, and it would just be a label on the bottle. This contains narcotics and may create drug-seeking behavior. Just to have that conversation so that the physician asks, the pharmacist asks, and the family understands.
Seems like common sense to me.
It is. Thank you very much.
Best of luck to you moving forward.
Great to be with you
Good to see you,
always. Thanks,
Congresswoman.
Josh.